Thank you and welcome to this talk. My talk will be a bit different from the previous ones because the previous ones were much on water quality, but my presentation will be based on conservation in the context of water quality and quantity. My name is Makarius Lalika. I'm presenting on behalf of my colleague, Benedetta. Yeah, the title is Exploring the Potential for Watershed Conservation for Enhancement of Water Quality and Quantity. And we are looking on the context of upstream and downstream linkages. This is the outline. Yeah, I try to explain a little bit about a watershed. A watershed is a landscape comprising of land, water, and forestry. And this landscape should have, or not should, normally have little small streams draining downstream to a big water body, be it a big river, an ocean, or a lake. A watershed is a vital ecological feature because it provides ecosystem services. These services range from regulating to provisioning. And normally, when we talk of watersheds, our focus specifically for this study is water. We are concentrating on environmental flow. Environmental flow in terms of water quantity, water quality, and the timing of the water flow. The river needs to have a certain amount of water flowing downstream in order to enhance ecological integrity. It needs to have a certain amount of water quantity and also a certain amount of water quality for people's use and also for the aquatic species. In Tanzania, we normally have watershed degradation problems. And these degradation problems are because majority of the people who live upstream depend on the watershed to derive ecosystem services for their survival. To aggravate the situation, there is also lack of accounting, lack of quantification of the ecosystem services from watersheds. And the main features for these problems is lack of integrated conservation approaches, command and control conservation approaches, poor valuation and accounting of ecosystem services from watersheds. And also, there is separate or approaches, policies regarding to natural resources which work in isolation. For instance, forest sector, there is a good policy with good statements, but normally the implementation is implemented in a separate way. Also, we have wildlife policy, which has a good statements, but implementation is not good because it works as a separate entity. Also, we have the water policy and other policies in the country. For instance, when you look on, this is the watershed area, you can see the upper picture is a nice catchment area. But the two photos here, you can see the inside of the forest, there is human activities taking place. This is mining of diamonds in one of the catchment area in Tanzania. So there is intact forest, but due to anthropogenic activities, there is degradation of this area. As far as you know, when there is mining, there is leakages of heavy metals which pollute water downstream. Also, for the wildlife sector, for those who have been in Tanzania before, this is Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa. There is an ice cap at the top, and due to climate change and other natural processes and environmental degradation, the ice is melting, and it is projected that in 2025, there won't be any snow anymore at the mountain. So there is a need to integrate our approaches for conservation in order to restore the situation. Also, there is water withdrawals within the river flowing downstream. There is a number of hydroelectric power stations. There is a number of activities, mainly irrigated agriculture, taking place along the river. This is a river Pangani. You can see this beneath photo is irrigated agriculture firm operated by large companies, draining, abstracting water from the river. Also, this is the end or the final destination of Pangani River. This is Pangani Estuary. During the 60s, this area, from the literature, people were crossing from one part to another on foot due to the sediment load deposition. But due to the reduction of water quantity, this ecological process is no longer there. There is a sea level rise due to climate change. Then waves are coming upstream, and there is introduction of salt water upstream. During low tide, it is said that saltwater intrusion is 20 kilometers upstream. And during high tide, it is as far as 28 kilometers. So you can see this intensity of environmental problems. Also, the beneath picture, you can see coastal erosion. This is because of sea level rise, which causes wave or coastal erosion. So we need to conserve the watershed upstream in order to enhance environmental flow. That is enough water flowing downstream in order to enhance ecological integrity. The objective of our study was to kind of explore initiatives for the conservation of watershed. Specifically, we intended to identify payment mechanisms for watershed services, to assess effects of water quantity and their benefits along the river, and also to examine drivers for willingness to pay for watershed services. This is the location of the study area. This is a catchment in Pangani River Basin. And as far as socioeconomic studies are concerned, we used willingness to pay special form in order to collect opinions, data from communities. And the analysis, we used economic models, a number of economic models. In our paper, in the memory stick, you will find there are 6 equations, but for the sake of time, I didn't include it here. But once you have time, you can open your memory stick, you'll see how we derived our equations using econometric models, logic model. So contingent evaluation was our method for data analysis. And this is good method for quantifying ecosystem services which is not quantifiable. You cannot touch air. You cannot touch shade. So these are kind of economic methods that are used to quantify ecosystem services which are not quantifiable. Results, we found that there are main 3 methods for paying for ecosystem services: direct cash, in-kind contribution, or labor participation. It means you participate instead of paying cash. You participate physically. Water uses were in a number of groups: fishing, hydroelectric power production, livestock, domestic, and irrigation. These are the type of uses. They are livestock using the same water, but people downstream use the same water for domestic uses. So you can see the risk of contamination. Also, there are agriculture. Normally, these agriculture use industrial fertilizers. So you can see during infiltration of chemicals from fertilizers, the level of pollution, also eutrophication. Also fishing, you can see this photo, this one. There is no filter vegetation, no riparian vegetation along the riverbank. So there is a risk of soil erosion, thereby reducing the riverbank, therefore reducing the water quantity flowing downstream. Another photo, this one, this is one of the hydroelectric power stations along this Pangani River basin. So you can see the quantity of water is becoming lower and lower, thereby curtailing hydroelectric power station in the area. These are a number of methods that are used to abstract water flowing downstream. Also, the other photo, which is this, you can see the water turbidity. So our idea is once you conserve the watershed upstream, it means you reduce the cost of water purification in water treatment plants. So it is necessary to enhance conservation upstream in order to cut down purification costs in water treatment plants for domestic users. So there we are. This is the summary of our economic model. We had a number of variables. So some were significant, some were not. And we calculated the model picked in 3 significant levels, 1%, 5%, and 10%. Certainty for willingness to pay, income size, participation in irrigation, yield without and with irrigation, membership in irrigation associations were significant. And the goodness fit of the model, the summary of our model indicated that 65% indicated the model was fit, but the rest was not due to some variation. Maybe weaknesses in data collection, weaknesses in data handling, and other external factors. To conclude, I would say that direct cash within Pangani River Basin is the main method for payment for watershed services. And we propose that payment for watershed services is one of economic methods for conserving watershed. This is a bit friendly as compared to the previous command and control approaches. This method has proved very positive in Latin America, in Bolivia, in Costa Rica, Ecuador, Guatemala, and other areas. Also, one of our conclusions is that sustainable ecosystem services depends on the integrity of watershed ecosystem. If we keep our watershed intact, then there is a chance for these watersheds to generate ecosystem services in a sustainable way. Also, willingness to pay has proved, according to this study, to be a useful approach for conserving watersheds. Therefore, we recommend donor agencies, including UNESCO, to come to Pangani and finance conservation programs in order to reduce water turbidity, in order to help indirectly to enhance ecological integrity in this river basin. These are my recent publications. They are a bit related to my talk. They are found online, although they are sold. So for those who may be interested, or they know they have some friends at home or students, you can consult me so that you can have this, or you can go straight online. They are online, so you can download them. Finally, I would say, if we have anything to talk to me, you can give me a shout through my emails. Thank you for listening.